What if the most convincing $100 bill in your wallet was fake? So flawless that banks, casinos, even the Secret Service couldn't spot the difference. This was the life of Arthur. Once a broke kid from Chicago's South Side, he didn't just chase the American dream. He printed it. But when the illusion became too real, the cost wasn't just prison. It was much more. This is how a counterfeiter became an artist, and how deception gave birth to redemption. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button, and let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you're already part of the crew, tap that like button to keep the good vibes rolling. All right, back to the story. It all began in 1972 on the south side of Chicago, a neighborhood forged from grit and defiance, a place where ambition blooms and resilience is passed down like a family heirloom. But in these streets, survival often means coloring outside the lines. Arthur was never handed a fair shot. His childhood was marked by constant upheaval. His family drifted from place to place, chasing fleeting stability. Then when Arthur was just 11 years old, his father walked out and never came back. From that moment, the struggle intensified. He and his mother landed in the Bridgeport housing projects, a concrete maze of desperation where the lights flickered with uncertainty and dreams were rationed. By his teens, Arthur was already a father himself. Williams III, a baby born into a storm, adding another weight to shoulders already bowed by responsibility. Picture a boy, barely in his teens, standing outside a corner store, watching his mother count pennies with trembling fingers, her eyes hollow from exhaustion, her dignity fraying with each transaction. The heaviness of poverty wrapped around them like smoke, constant, choking, invisible to those who had never known it. But Arthur, he wasn't reckless, he wasn't violent, he was just tired. Tired of the hunger, tired of the futility, tired of a city that whispered a cruel truth. If you're born with nothing, you die with nothing. So he paid attention, he observed, he studied, he saw patterns others overlooked, and he understood something that changed everything. Money was just paper and ink. And ink, given the right hands, could be replicated. The details of how Arthur entered the world of counterfeiting remain shadowy. Some say he was initiated at 15, drawn in by someone who saw potential in his eye for detail. But whatever the origin, one thing is certain. He began small, carefully printing counterfeit bills and feeding them into Chicago's underground economy. Most people spend their lives chasing a $100 bill. Arthur decided to invent one. His early attempts? Useless scraps, clumsy forgeries, easily spotted and quickly discarded. But Arthur wasn't just a kid with a bootleg printer. He was meticulous, obsessed. He dissected real currency the way a master sculptor studies marble, analyzing the paper's unique texture, the subtle color shifts, the secret threads woven invisibly through its fibers. It wasn't a matter of luck, it was an obsession. Years of experimentation. Sleepless nights hunched over printing plates, fingers stained with ink, eyes bloodshot from examining microscopic details. Then, finally, he nailed it. His counterfeit hundreds didn't just mimic the real thing, they became the real thing. To the naked eye, to the trained touch, even to the machines, they were indistinguishable. A triumph in deception. Arthur had done what few dared attempt. He flawlessly replicated the newly designed 1996 Series 100 bill. A bill that was supposed to be counterfeit-proof, armored with anti-forgery features crafted by the nation's top security minds. But Arthur cracked it. The Secret Service's fortress of ink and fiber had been breached by a man with a press and a dream. He was labeled by some as the King of Counterfeit. His fake currency flooded the streets like a hidden river, slipping into casinos, nightclubs, high-end fashion boutiques, even legitimate businesses. In total, he circulated an estimated $10 million in forged bills. Gone was the boy who watched his mother suffer over spare change. In his place stood a man who wanted for nothing. He was untouchable, or so it seemed. But even legends leave traces. The feds were on his trail. They watched, they waited, they followed the ripples of fake bills from coast to coast, piecing together a puzzle that pointed to one man. The cracks began to form, a misstep here, a nervous associate there. Slowly, the walls closed in. In 2001, Arthur was caught with $60,000 in counterfeit cash at the House of Blues. It should have ended there, but a legal technicality, an illegal search, set him free. He walked away, unscathed and smiling. But the justice system has a long memory. By 2002, the law caught up again. This time, there were no loopholes. He was running a full-scale operation, a counterfeit empire. The sentence, 3 years in federal prison. A warning shot, but one Arthur didn't heed. When he was released, he could have disappeared, could have gone straight. But the rush, the challenge, the art, it was in his blood. By 2006, he was back at it, using a 1956 Abdic one-color offset press, an old-school machine perfect for high-stakes forgery. But the game had changed. And the feds were no longer playing catch-up. They raided his apartment, they found the press, the ink, the templates, the bills. It was over. This time, there was no escape. Arthur was sentenced again. 6.5 years in federal prison. The cell bars slammed shut on his empire. But here's the thing about true artists. Confinement doesn't kill their creativity. It distills it. Behind bars, Arthur found a new medium. He traded ink for paint and forgery for fine art. With nothing but old dictionaries and torn magazines for reference, he spent a full year hand-replicating an 1896 silver certificate, stroke by painstaking stroke, every detail exact. This wasn't counterfeiting anymore. This was resurrection, a rebirth. He studied the masters, Michelangelo, Da Vinci. With no formal training, he taught himself to paint, to draw, to transform blank canvases into echoes of lost currency and buried meaning. When he was released on July 23, 2013, the world he returned to had moved on. But Arthur had something new. Purpose. He took any work he could to stay afloat, hauling exotic cars, delivering liquor. But his real work was on canvas. His art began to attract attention, not for what it faked, but for what it revealed. He wasn't just painting, he was fusing realism with abstraction, embedding his journey into every brushstroke. His pieces often incorporated actual currency, reimagined, reborn, symbols of his past, transformed into something raw and real. Rumors swirled that celebrities like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Floyd Mayweather owned his work. While the details remain unverified, one thing is clear. Arthur's art found an audience. Exhibitions followed, recognition came. He wasn't a counterfeiter anymore. He was a creator. He opened the Da Vinci Art Gallery in Beverly Hills, a tribute to reinvention. His exhibitions, like second chances at Artist Replete, drew attention from collectors, critics, and fans alike. His story has been featured in Forbes, Rolling Stone, Vice, and American Greed. Though his philanthropic efforts remain largely undocumented, Arthur now uses his voice to speak publicly about his journey. From the shadows of the underground economy to the spotlight of the art world, Arthur didn't erase his past. He transformed it. He turned a life of deception into a legacy of creation. A counterfeiter who became a true original. If you thought this was wild, check out the other stories and let me know which one blew your mind.